In this video, I want to show you exactly how to create AI agents that could automate tasks for you. We're going to use a platform called n8n. This is going completely viral right now because it's going to give you some options you've never had before with other platforms. And I'm going to go very step by step. There's no coding skill required to follow along with me. And by the end of the video, you'll have a real clear idea how to build AI agents to automate your tasks. Okay, so the platform is called n8n. And one of the big reasons why it's going viral and is so popular is because it's open source. You could actually download it and run it privately on your computer. And this is an AI native workflow automation tool. So you may have used other competitors to this. There's Zapier, there's make.com, but this one actually takes it to a whole new level. It's really designed to be AI native first. And just to give you some idea of what kind of workflows you could automate with this platform, they have this page that I'll show you once we set up our account here. This is gonna give you a ton of different examples, over 1,000 different workflows that the community makes here, and they make it available. A lot of them are free, some of them are paid here. But for example, if you wanted to automate things in sales, you could click here and then you could see all kinds of different automation and exactly what each one does. So when you click on each one, you'll see if it's free to use and you'll be able to add it to your account, and it will have all these different steps already laid out for you. And there's a ton of different options, like things in marketing, with support, with design, finance, a lot of ways that people are using AI, but now you could create these agents to actually take care of tasks automatically for you. Okay, so what we're gonna build in this video is an AI agent that's gonna do exactly this task right here. It's gonna fetch emails from Gmail. We could have a dedicated Gmail email address for support, for example. Then it's gonna kick in the AI agent, and the AI agent is gonna send a message to OpenAI. So this is gonna use a version of ChatGPT here. And that is gonna have its own custom instructions to know how to deal with different messages. Then it's gonna actually be able to reply to that message and create a draft for us. So we'll have a draft sitting in Gmail rather than just automatically sending it out. This will be much safer because you could then tweak it or just verify before you press send. And then it's gonna analyze the message, and if the message requires an instant urgent answer, it's gonna ping someone in our Slack channel, and the Slack message will say, hey, reply to this because it's urgent. The ones that this automatically replies to will sit in draft. You can automatically send it too. So I prefer to have it sit on draft mode and manually do it right now, just to make sure this automation is working exactly like I want. Now you have 3 different options for using n8n. So let me just walk you through those, and then we'll go ahead and build our agent here. But the first one is just the n8n website. I'll put all these links in the description below too. So this is going to be an option that is hosted by this platform, n8n. This is not a local install. So you have to pay for this monthly, and the pricing starts at $20 a month. This is very similar to Zapier and make.com, and it kind of has a similar monthly pricing too, but they do charge you a little bit differently on the workflow and how they count workflows. The second option is you could self-host it, and I'll link this document below. This is highly technical though. So because this is open source, you could technically download it and use it on your own computer using your own hardware. And if you're more technical, this is one way to go about it as well, self-hosting on your computer. Now, the third way you could do this is by using a VPS or virtual private server. Now, this has the benefit of a local install, but it's a whole lot less technical, but you still get the privacy because it's, again, private, and you get the security of a local install too. Now, I specifically partnered with Hostinger for this video because they have the easiest way and a native way to install n8n in these virtual private server in just a few clicks. So I'll show you that in a second. And once you end up setting this up this way, this is what my Hostinger hosted version of it looks like. And this is what the n8n website looks like. So you could see it's pretty much the exact same thing. One of them, you're hosting yourself privately, and the other benefit is actually based on price, because the Hostinger option starts around $6 a month instead of paying $20 a month. So you're saving 70% on doing that. Now, if you use a VPS or if you install locally, the only difference is the authentication when you're tying into other apps. So if you tie into Gmail, it's going to give you a step-by-step guide on how to do that. It's a little bit different than the one n8n hosts on their website. So I'll link this page in the description below this video. This is the hosting plan that I actually chose here, the second one. And if you're doing this long-term, they do have a 2-year option, or you could choose 1 month or 1 year option over here. Obviously, the longer the duration, the better savings you're gonna get here. Just check out through this process. And Hostinger also gave me an additional coupon code, so it will add to this discount that you get over here. So if you type in skill right here and press apply, you'll get an additional 10% discount. I'll go ahead and link Hostinger in the description below this video, as well as this discount code right here that you could apply during the checkout process, so you could host n8n on a virtual private server. And once you log into your Hostinger account, VPS, this is right here. I'm gonna just go ahead and create a new one. I have one running right now. You're gonna click this first one right on top. Now it's gonna choose a server location near you here. And then right over here, we're gonna choose application. And they have a ton of different applications, but we're gonna look for n8n, which is this one right here. So we're gonna select that. Now we need to create a root password because we need to log into this once we set it up on our private server. Now, once you set it up, you'll see all the resources you have access to over here. And then if you press manage app, it will take you to this page. It'll probably show you the login screen here where you do have to type in your username and password to log in. But then you get started here in the very first page of n8n, and you could go ahead and start from scratch. And then you'll press the plus sign here to build your first AI agent, which I'll show you step by step. And the link to the Hostinger VPS option is in the description below if you want to take this route. If you want to do this manually and install it locally, there is a link to that document as well. Now for the rest of the video, I'll just use the regular n8n website here. Okay, this is the workflow we're gonna create here from scratch. And I also want to just show you another type of a workflow. This is a little bit more complex, so I'm not gonna cover it in this video. This is gonna require much more in-depth knowledge about using n8n. But this one uses these things called AI agents that could access other tools. So this AI agent has, for example, access to OpenAI, has access to this memory, has access to Slack and Gmail. I'm gonna, for this video, make a more linear one. So let me go back to this one. This is the one we're gonna go ahead and create that kind of goes through it in a linear step-by-step order, kind of achieves the same thing, but the AI agents I'll probably cover in upcoming videos that fit inside of a workflow. This is just an AI agent here that will do these things. Those other type of AI agents fit inside of an AI agent workflow. So you can have multiple agents in the same workflow. Okay, so to start a workflow, all you have to do is press the plus sign up here and choose workflow. And you could choose different projects. You could create different projects for yourself. And in this case, I'm just gonna put this inside of my personal project here. Okay, here we're gonna go ahead and build one from scratch. So typically that's the very first step, is you just create your workflow from here and put it inside of a project. If you press these three dots over here, you could also download a project and share that file with someone else, and then they could import that file here. So if you click this and you have a project someone else gives to you, you could import it that way. I'll end up sharing this too in the description below this video once I build it out, but it's important to understand how it gets created kind of from scratch. That's why I want to do this step by step. So we're going to press right here in the plus sign, and it's going to give you an option to start your workflow. They're always called triggers in these type of automation tools. Something has to trigger the sequence of events here. Now I'm going to go ahead and search here in the search bar for Gmail, because receiving an email into an inbox is going to be the reason why this agent starts going to work. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose Gmail here. And right here, the trigger says on message received. But there's a ton of other things with all these apps that you could do. So for example, every time you get a message, every time a message deleted, every time a message is marked as read, you could create labels, you could create drafts, pretty much anything you could do inside of the Gmail app or the Gmail website you could do with these type of automations. In this case, my first trigger, and you already knew that right out top, message is received. That's going to start my automation here. Now this page is going to require you to connect to whatever app that is starting your automation. So in this case, Gmail is starting my automation. So I have to press this pencil icon here to make that connection to my Google accounts. So if you're using the version on the n8n website, you could use this, sign in with Google and sign in that way. If you're self-hosting it, you will have to follow along. They usually give you a set of instructions on how to do it if you're using a self-hosted version to authenticate. Because if you're self-hosting, the authentication process takes a few more steps that you'll see here on the right side. Okay, so I connected my account here just off screen. I give it the permission here that I needed to, so it's all set. I could close this right here. So on this page, really that's all you have to do is make sure it's connected to whatever email you want to pull in, and it works pretty much with any email provider if you're making this kind of an agent. Everything else I'm going to leave the same. I'm going to say fetch this step. Okay, and here's the email. I just sent myself a test email here so I could show you all the information. So this step is working. So I could actually click on top right here, this empty area, and you could see I get a check mark over here. If there's any kind of connection issues, you'll kind of get an error message or error icon over here that you'll have to fix. And they do always have this ask an assistant option down here. So if you do get stuck, this is actually kind of helpful. It will try to find the problem and solve it for you or tell you how to solve it. So that is an option you have here on their website. Now we're going to actually have to use some AI here because we're going to need to read that message here with our agent. So I'm going to press the plus sign here and we're going to look for OpenAI. And this is the OpenAI one we want, just says OpenAI right on top. And there's a ton of different options with OpenAI. You could do a whole lot of different types of automations as you get used to it. This is just my initial introduction to these, so I'll keep it kind of simple. But all we want to do for this one is message a model. So that's what I'm going to choose. But you could also message an assistant. You could build out an assistant right here, create an assistant. Ton of different options, generate audio. This has access to things like DALL-E for generating images, analyzing images. I'm going to message a model over here. And then we're going to get this box over here. The first thing we need to do is press the plus sign and we need to give it API access to OpenAI API. That is going to charge you that portion regardless of how you set this up, even if this is privately installed, because we need to pay OpenAI to use a version of ChatGPT here for us to get some results. I also got a pop-up here that gave me some free OpenAI credits here. So if you get that pop-up right here, if you're using their website, it gives you a little bit just to get started, but I highly recommend you actually click over here and create a new credential and type in your API key over here. Okay, to get an API key, the OpenAI API key, you go to platform.openai.com, click on dashboard right over here, and over here you'll see API key on the left side, and this is going to show you any API key you've set up, and you want to create a secret key from here. This is 100% independent from the ChatGPT website. So if you're paying for ChatGPT, that is not going to get you an API key. You have to set that up on the platform website. I'm going to go ahead and create a new key from here, give it a name over here and create a key. Now you're only going to see this one time. So copy it and store it somewhere safe. And I'll just go ahead and paste it over here and save. Okay, I got the check mark here. If you have any issues, you do have to tie in a credit card under the billing section in OpenAI in order to be able to use that API here. Then you have models. It says from a list of models over here. And depending on your account, you might have a ton of different models available, or you may just have a couple to choose from. It depends on how often you use that and which of these has been unlocked. So ChatGPT, you have 4.5. Let's see if I have access to 4.5. So I have access to 4.5, but that is going to be a little bit more costly. I'm going to use actually ChatGPT 4 on Mini because it's pretty good for especially what I'm using it for. It doesn't need the best model available, but I do want the cheapest model available that's still pretty good, and that is 4.0 Mini right now. Now, this is the part where we're going to talk to the AI. So the first part right here, message, we want to change it right here to assistant. And we're going to add a prompt here to tell the AI how to behave. So this is called a system prompt. And if you build custom GPTs, for example, this is going to look familiar to you. I have one right over here. You're a helpful email response agent. If the sender's message seems urgent, draft a response via Gmail asking for more details or offering assistance. Ensure the response is clear, professional, and prompt. Now, you could obviously take your time and get very detailed with these type of system instructions. Just make sure this is set to assistant right over here. Okay, so that's all I had to do for this step. And then I want to add a message, and I want to set the second one to be the role of the user. Okay, so this is where the actual prompt is going to go. This is the system prompt on how this chatbot is going to behave. This is the actual user prompt, like when you're using ChatGPT, this is where your actual prompt goes. And in this case, I'm going to say, here's the information of the email that needs to be triaged. So from, to, subject, and body, those are all the different parts of the email when it comes through. And I need to put something here because otherwise, every time a new email comes, it's going to use the information from the previous email. So that's when the difference right up top that says fixed or expression. Okay, so there's kind of a difference here between the two. Fixed, it means it never changes, but expression, it means every time a new email comes, this needs to change. So we need to put something here that knows, well, the from, the to, the subject is usually going to change every time I get a new email. in order to pull in that data, we already set up the Gmail step. So we need to pull in right here. Just click right here, execute previous node. And it's going to pull in all this information here on the left side. And it's going to present it in 3 different ways that you look at that information. So there's schema. This is kind of what that looks like. Then there's table format. This is probably the usual way that you'll look at things if you're looking at any type of data. And then there's JSON format, which looks a little bit complicated, but typically data on the web gets passed on in this type of JSON format. In this case, we're going to use the schema format. So you don't really have to know much about these right now. When you get more advanced with these automations, you kind of need to know a little bit about how JSON is structured, but there are just different ways to present the same data, 3 different ways actually. I'm going to use schema for this one because it's really easy for this type of automation. So if I look at the Gmail trigger right up here, this is the input, I could look for a from line. So that's over here. And I just have to grab this box right here and put it right in front of this from section. It's added this little code right here. So it's drag and drop. Then there's the to section. So I could see, is there a to? Yeah, that's right over here. Bring that and put that over here. And you can see I'm under the expressions now. By default, it switches you from fixed to expressions when you grab these. It says the subject line, we'll look for a subject line over here. Billing question is the subject line. We'll add that over here. And then we'll go down to the body of the email. And that's usually the snippet right here. The snippet of the email will have to be added over here like this. Okay, so now we have pretty much everything that we're asking the chatbot to analyze, right? So system instructions here on how to analyze something, how to behave, the tone and things like that. That is the assistance role. The user role is going to be the actual thing that we're going to go ahead and put in here. So like if I was using ChatGPT, I would just type in, here's the information that needs to be triaged, and then copy and paste all this into the email, and it will give me a reply, okay? And that's all we have to do here. Everything else is the same over here. And I just have to press test this step right on top. And here's the content. Thank you for reaching out to us. I could certainly assist with that, switching your account from monthly to yearly. That was the actual question. They said, can I switch from monthly to yearly? Could you please provide me the email associated with your account? Maybe they used a different email. So this is actually a good question, because sometimes people use a different email to send a message than they have on their accounts. So it's going to be saved now as a draft. That's the next step we're going to set up over here. But the assistant is working based on the system instruction I gave it. Okay, so we'll click off top right over here. So we got our trigger, the email came in, OpenAI went to work, the instructions worked, and it has an output. So what do we do with that message now? Well, we need to add one more step over here in order to deal with that message. And that's going to be Gmail again. So we're going to choose Gmail. But this time we're going to go ahead and create a reply. Now, if you go down here, you'll see these options for creating a draft. So that's what I want to choose, because I usually, still to this day, don't like the AI to reply automatically for me. You could just set that up as an auto reply inside of Gmail, for example, right? But in order to do it this way, you take advantage of the OpenAI engine. It's based on the context of the email, right? But you can send a message too. So if you do want to reply to an email, that is an option. I highly recommend you do the draft till you really fine tune this and get it exactly like you want. Check a bunch of responses. A lot of times I like to put the finishing touches to these drafts, but it takes care of 80% of the work already. Okay, so how is it going to reply? Credentials are the same. It's the same Gmail account, so I don't have to add it again. But if you were to add it, this is the pencil icon in order to add that. The resource is going to be set to draft, so we don't have to change anything. And all this is going to be the same. Email type is still going to be text. I don't want HTML. And the message here, we didn't need to change over here. So I'm going to change this to expression again. And we want the message that we got. So that's the content right here. So we need to grab and put the content over here, right? If you were set to the fixed, it's going to send the message every time the same exact way as you put in over here. But if you do expression, it's going to use the message, the content from this box over here instead. And over here, I also like to add an option over here, which is thread ID. So we'll choose this option. That is one of the things that gets pulled in directly from Gmail to kind of tell which email this is. So if you look down here, you'll see thread ID right here. This is from the Gmail trigger. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to put this into this box over here. And it's going to automatically change it to expression. Even if you're on this fixed tab, it'll change it over here. And I did not add a subject. So we'll go ahead and look for our subject here inside of our email. And we're going to go ahead and drop this and set that as an expression over here too. Okay, so subject, message, thread ID, those are the things you need here. It's going to create a draft. We're going to test this step here. We should see the output here on the right side. Now I'm going to actually open up Gmail to make sure we did get that. Okay, and this is exactly what it looks like without me doing any editing inside of Gmail. So the message came in, "Hi Skilleep, I'd like to switch my account from monthly to yearly. Can you help me with that, John?" And then this is my reply, and it says subject reply to billing question. So you got that right. "Hi John," you picked up on the name. "Thank you for reaching out to us. I can certainly assist you with that. Could you provide me the email address associated with that? Once I have that, I could process your request more efficiently. Thanks for your reply." Even added all this information here, including my full name, best regards. It's literally ready to go, right? I could just press send. So this automation, as long as it's turned on and running, every email that comes to this inbox, so you want to dedicate it typically to like a support inbox or billing inbox. And then if I feel like it needs some help, I'll just manually do some revisions here. If I feel like it's ready to send, I'll send it. Or if I feel like it just doesn't need a reply, well, I'll just press the garbage can here and delete this draft. This is why I like this draft mode. Once a day, a couple of times a day, I could have all these drafts sitting here, reply to emails, all done for me. Now let's take it a step further now. Now the next thing I want to add here is, let's assume that someone is saying, hey, maybe they will double billed on accident, something happened with our billing and they were double billed for something and they want a refund, and the message will seem more urgent that way. So what I could do is, well, this is going to sit in draft. Maybe I don't want to check that like every 10 minutes, right? I want to check that a couple of times a day and send out those drafts. Well, I'm going to start another chain here where it's going to use OpenAI again to analyze the message and send a Slack message to my team on a channel that is urgent, right? So they respond immediately within 60 seconds or within a couple of minutes to that email. So we'll choose OpenAI for that one more time. We'll choose this option. And again, we're going to message a model. So same thing as we did before. We're still connected to our OpenAI account. I'm going to choose 4.0 mini again on this one. And this time we just need a text as a user role. We don't need that assistant role unless we want to give it more specific instructions. And all I wrote is alert our team via Slack about the severity of the content of the email we received without giving context or pretext. Just return the message text, okay? And I pressed test actually too early because we need to give it all the information that we had in the from, to, subject, and the body of the email too. So I'm going to type those back in, and we do need to drag and drop those things into these fields again. So we want to go down to the Gmail trigger and pull those same type of things in here. And now I'm going to go ahead and test that step over here. And here it says we've received a billing question and that they need to switch. Please address this promptly. And it's going to go to Slack, which we need to add in the very next step. And if you want to really dial this in, you could actually add the assistant, right? So you could choose the assistant option and give this bot a system instruction. Only reply to messages that sound like these or have these keywords or sound urgent, and then you define what urgent means. So you could really tweak this right here. In this case, we don't get many of these, so I actually want pretty much all of them to go to Slack. But if you wanted to, always add an assistant first, then add the actual user prompt here, and then use these system prompts to dial that in as much as you want to, like we did with the very first step. Okay, so everything has a check mark, and our last step is going to be Slack. So we're going to type in Slack. And by the way, they have a ton of different options. I'm just showing you a few. Pretty much this works with just about any app you can imagine. So if you use a different email or different type of messaging app, I'm sure they have like a Microsoft one. Yeah, you could do Microsoft Teams. But in this case, we use Slack, so I'm going to choose Slack for us. Okay, I just searched for send. Send a message is one of our options inside of Slack. This is going to bring up Slack credential. You have to add that again. So I'm going to add a new credential here and tie this to my Slack. I'll press allow here. Okay, successful. Exit this. Okay, I clicked away. We have that set up. So we're going to go ahead and send a message, and we're going to send a message to a channel, or you could send it to a user. So if you want to send it to a user, it'll give you the different users you have here. I'll send it to myself here. And then under the message here, I'm going to change this again to the expression. So we could choose the OpenAI step, which right here was the content. This is the message we want, not any of the previous messages. We want the last step here. So I'm going to drag and drop the content over here and just click away. That's all we need to do there. And I'm going to go ahead and press test the step right on top over here. This is the whole step. So we're going to get a message inside of Slack. This is going to be a private message, but as I mentioned, you could also send this to a channel if you have multiple people that need to see this message here. And it looks like it sent us the message here. This is just my actual Slack account. It actually added a little warning emoji, so I could get to this right away. Now, once you've finished setting up any workflow and you've tested it here with the test workflow option in all these steps, we could actually turn it on, because up to this point, it's going to be set to inactive here. So if I go ahead and click this and it says workflow activated, it will check Gmail for events and trigger all these different steps that we have set up over here. So as long as this is activated, it's going to go to work. Anytime you want to deactivate it, you could go ahead and click this, and each step could also be deactivated this way. So if I want to turn off the Slack option, I could turn it off from here too. And obviously these AI steps are the real power of these, right? Because these are just regular automation tools before AI came out. But now with AI, it has exact context. It could read and write based on what's coming in. So it's going to completely change your workflow. The automation is a whole lot more powerful. You could build it out from here. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, oh, by the way, make sure you save these right on top right here. Make sure you press save. But now if I go to my other workflow I was building out on this account, you can see you could get a lot more complex with these AI agents having access to these tools. So when we were building out these agents, you'll see this little plus sign right here. So if you click this, it gives these AI agents access to different things they're capable of doing as one of the steps over here. So it makes it a whole lot more powerful. This gets a little more complicated because you really have to understand how these JSON files are formatted. It's pretty straightforward once you get to know it, because it's a different way to represent data, but it is technically code here. So I know a lot of people that are not technical, they don't want to make it that complicated. But as I showed you in the very first step, you could pretty much do these in a very linear way without really looking at JSON or any type of code. It's kind of was drag and dropped. I didn't type a single line of JSON or JavaScript or any type of code. And this automation is ready to go. So this is going to keep running. If you wanted to stop running, you could stop any of these steps here. So if I want to go back in the beginning and turn it off, as long as this is deactivated here, none of these other things are going to work. This is going to deactivate that whole flow over here. Or you could, let's say you don't want Slack messages, just turn that off and the previous steps will work over here as well. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, there is a tab right here for templates. So if you go to this tab right here, you'll see all kinds of different workflow automation templates. So what you could do is, I'll just show you as an example. I'll pick on marketing here, and let's say this one, AI-powered social content generator. You could click on it and you could press use this workflow. And I have the cloud one. This is from n8n. I have the Hostinger one. So depending on where I want to put it, I'll choose that, import into the template. And it takes a second here. It's going to ask you to connect any type of account that is required on that step here. I'm going to skip that. And here is your whole workflow. I'm just going to zoom into it over here. And a lot of these actually kind of come with these type of notes. So you see exactly how it's working. And you can see it gets pretty elaborate over here. Now, if you want to just use the one I built, so you have it as a template and you kind of build your own underneath it, so you kind of refer back to the top one, all you have to do is press these three dots in a new workflow, import from a file, just double click on the JSON file that I have, and you'll get that exact same thing that we built in this video. Obviously, none of these are going to be connected to Gmail or OpenAI. You need the API keys and these account credentials here for it to work. But all the different things I added, including these kind of text, again, build on your own text here to make sure it works with your flow. They're always all included in a type of workflow that you create. Now, I've been using more and more of these automation tools, especially n8n. So I'll be making more videos. I'm actually making an entirely dedicated course to showing all kinds of practical workflows to just automate a lot of things that you do day to day. So I'll make sure I'll link that in the description when it's ready, but I'll be making free videos here on YouTube coming up very soon as well. Thanks again for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will catch you on the next video.